Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to order. A couple of housekeeping things. If you wish to address the board tonight, we have citizens communication cards on the ledge. If you'll get one of those and complete it and get it to our city clerk, she can get it to me so we can have a record of your speaking tonight. Also, if you have your cell phones, if you please silence those during the course of our meeting. This time we'll have a roll call.
Director Hollebush is absent. Assistant Mayor Brewer.
Here.
Director Jewell. Here. Director Smith.
Here.
Director Roberts.
Here.
Director Harris.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. This time we'll stand for our invocation and pledge of allegiance given by Director Danny Jewell.
Let's pray, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this sunshiny day you've given us and for our great city and state. We ask that you guide, direct us in all our business we conduct here tonight. And we ask that you reach out and touch all those in need of your divine assistance. These things we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. This time we'll move right on into citizens communication time. Is there anyone here wishing to address the board? Anyone here wishing to address the board tonight during citizens communication time? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move right on into our consent agenda. We have two items on our consent agenda. Item number one is approval of the minutes of the rescheduled regular meeting of March the 2nd. Item number two is to adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to submit a transportation alternatives reimbursable grant application to the Arkansas Highway Transportation Department, Arkansas Transportation Alternatives Program for the East 9th Street sidewalk improvements. What would be the desire of the board for the consent?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to take number 2 off.
All right. What would be the desire of the board for the approval of the minutes?
Make a motion for approval of the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Director Harris.
I guess I want to know, are there any other sidewalk that the city manager is going to be going after, and what is the location of these sidewalks on 9th Street? I know that what's in the MPO plan that was put in there last time it was done, and I just want to know if you're going to go after the other areas on Division Street and also on East Street, where you can do sidewalks too, because it's on East Street, I believe it's from the underpass all the way out to 49 that was put in the MPO plan. And the MPO stand for the Metropolitan Plan, Metropolitan Organization Plan, that is consists of Arkansas and Texas. We meet about transportation idea from the state of Arkansas and Texas. And it was put in this plan, I think it was 2 years, maybe a year or 2 years ago. And also, Division Street was also put in the plan too. And these plans, why you can put them in the plan, because they are roads that the highway does. Because since they are roads that the highway is doing, they are under their jurisdiction per se, where they can be getting money to repair that highway or money to improve that highway from state funding. So that's why we can get money for East 9th Street, and also has to be put in the plan. But I'm trying to ask the city manager, do he have is there other places on that highway that's within the State Department, Arkansas State Department, Highway Department, is he gonna go after it?
We can't do them all in 1 year. This is the exact project that you requested through MPO, and then you brought it up, I believe, in a board meeting
Right.
a few months ago. So this is that exact project. Are you
No,
asking
I just wanna
if
know,
we
are you
will?
gonna go after the other plane on the sidewalk? I'm saying that it's not only 9th Street, and that's good you're going after 9th Street. I'm glad you're going after. I'm saying that there's East Street that was put in the plan, and also Division Street was put in the plan. I think East Street It was put all the way in the plan from the underpass all the way up to 49. And you don't have to do all of East Street, because there's certain part sidewalk and certain part done. So I just want to know, I hope you look at the plans that's in there and go after those other streets. That's, make a long story short, that's basically what I'm trying to say.
So are we going after any more grants or any more, I'm not sure what you're asking myself. Are we gonna pursue the
Yeah.
MPO to do any more of these projects?
It's not MPO, you pursuing the
Or the
state.
Arkansas State Highway Department?
Yeah, are you gonna pursue the
Are you
state?
gonna pursue the Arkansas State Highway Department to do any more projects that are in the MPO plan?
Not this year. We don't have the funds for it.
Okay,
We'll see whatever comes next year.
all right, okay. That's all I had.
Any other questions? Not, I would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
A resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas to utilize federal aid transportation alternatives program funds. Whereas the Board of Directors of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas understands federal aid transportation alternatives program funds are available at 80% federal participation and 20% local match to develop or improve East 9th Street sidewalks from East Broad Street to Oates Street. And whereas the city of Texarkana, Arkansas understands that federal aid funds are available for this project on a reimbursable basis, requiring work to be accomplished and proof of payment prior to actual monetary reimbursement. And whereas this project, using federal funding, will be open and available for use by the general public and maintained by the applicant for the life of the project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, that Section 1, the city of Texarkana, Arkansas will participate in accordance with its design responsibility, including maintenance of this project. Section 2, the city manager is hereby authorized and directed to execute all appropriate agreements and contracts necessary to expedite the construction of the above stated project. Section 3, the Board of Directors pledges its full support and hereby authorizes the Arkansas State Highway and Transportation Department to initiate action to implement this project. Pass and approve this 16th day of March, 2026.
City attorney's read the resolution, desire of the board.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Director Brewer?
Yes.
Director Jewell?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Yes.
Director Roberts?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes, the resolution passes. Moving into our regular agenda, item number 3 is to adopt a resolution authorizing the airport director to enter into an agreement with Garver Engineering to administer the widening of taxiway B, taxiway D, and the conversion of runway 13 to an amount not to exceed $773,200. Paul.
Good evening, members of the board. This project will be funded from an $11 million grant provided by Congressman Moran and Congressman Westerman that will be administered from the Federal Aviation Administration. I have with me Mr. Jordan Culver with Garver Engineering to answer any specific questions you may have about this item.
Yes, you say 95% would be coming from the grant, right?
Yes.
And the other 38,000 be coming from the aeronautics?
So yes, for this
Division.
portion, what we are going to do is we're basically breaking out construction. This is going to be a design only. And so the 95% will be FAA, the 5% will be matched by the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics. There will be no local dollars matching this portion.
Right. And what's the width that we're widening the lanes to? What's the numbers on that?
So it varies because we're widening the fillets. We're not widening the straightaway portion of the taxiway, but it widens anywhere from, 10 to 20 feet in width.
So that entails tearing up what we have there to go with something brand new? How's that?
It won't be a complete demolition, but we will have to remove a little bit on the edge so that the new asphalt overlaps the existing asphalt, and you don't have a vertical face right there at the edge, allowing subsurface water to get down and damage the subgrade.
I know the monies are coming from the grant, but do we have like an itemized list of what this demolition and that whole thing is gonna? what's going to take to make this happen? I see the number here,
Yeah.
but do you have an itemized list?
Yeah, we put together a detailed construction cost estimate for, preliminary planning purposes. It has the total cost of construction at around $14.7 million.
Any other questions?
But the big thing here, no match from either city.
That's correct. On this portion, there will be no match.
You say this portion, the other portion is, I assume, going to be some kind of matching?
Yes, sir.
All right. And when you say you put together that list, is that the list that we're looking here in the work description about the project administration, the survey, the geotechnical, all that?
Yeah, that's broken out in the particular work order based on the different phases. We've got, it's on this, I don't know if you guys have the full copy in front of you guys, but on page 3 of the work order, it's got the individual phases from project administration, surveying services, geotechnical services. We'll do a preliminary engineers report, and then preliminary design, take it to 60%, final design, and then bidding services.
So once all these designs are approved, the actual construction of it itself, is that a separate cost that's going to come later?
Yes, that'll be a separate cost that'll come later, once we have bids in hand, and we'll know exactly the timeline for construction, how many calendar days it'll be, because that will largely dictate what, our construction phase services for construction observation and construction admin and everything will cost.
I know we're running off for a grant here, almost $750,000, but we just don't have those final numbers of what the actual cost to make it happen after all the preliminaries.
You're talking about the actual cost of
Documents,
construction? Yeah, it'll be, once we bid it out, we have a little bit more detailed idea based on, quantities, for every work area, what it'll cost, but we won't know those final dollars until we get through design and we can put it on the street for bid.
Hey, what's your bid process? Do you go through, who do you use how do you make your bid, how do you do your bid process?
Yeah, so we typically will advertise in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette for meeting the state requirements. On these projects like this, we'll also advertise the project in the local paper. And then in addition to that, we do all our online, we do all our plan room stuff online. And that's through a server called Quest CDN. A lot of the contractors in the state, they're already on that directory. So as soon as this project hits that Quest CDN, it sends a notification out. We also know a lot of the contractors that would be interested in this project, so we send them, as soon as the plans are available, we send them an email with the advertisement to, generate interest in the project.
Okay, good deal, because the reason I asked that question is because in Miller County, I'm highly interested in some of the contractors in this area have an opportunity to look at the bids. So, because we're all one Miller County, and if we can keep those monies here, that'd be great, but ultimately, we got to get the most certified people. But I just want to make sure that we have a process in place that they will at least see the bidding process.
Yeah, it'll be very public, and, with a project of this magnitude, there will be opportunities for local contractors to be subs on the project, so.
All right, thank you.
When are y'all looking at turning dirt?
So, design for a project of this magnitude will take about 6 months. That puts us opening bids around October, November timeframe. Of course, by the time we do, all the board approvals and, get contracts awarded and all the pre-construction stuff, we'll be in the dead of winter. I anticipate construction starting towards the end of February 2027 or early March 2027.
Almost a year from now, we're actually doing actual construction.
Any other questions? Yes.
Where are you located at?
Where are we located at? Our office is out of North Little Rock.
Okay. And I guess my question, how were you able to choose this company? What process did you use?
Yes, so every 5 years, the airport is required by the Federal Aviation Administration to put out requests for qualifications. And so we are supposed to select companies by being the most qualified, not based off of a price. And in this case, because of the complexity of how big the maintenance, repair, overhaul project was going to be, we ended up selecting 2 companies. So we have both Garver Engineering and McClelland Engineering as on-call engineering services for us for the duration of the 5 years.
I have one question. Is there a mandate federal mandate for these taxi lanes to be widened? Are we out of compliance? So what's the reason that we really got to push this?
So as part of the process of lengthening and strengthening the runways to allow wide-body aircraft, those wide-body aircraft, the wheels on them are wider. So as they make turns,
Okay.
going on and off the runway, we don't want their wheels to fall off the side. They're very heavy aircraft and could sink. So we're trying to widen those areas to give them a little bit more maneuvering room.
Okay, I thought we took all that in consideration when we did the initial,
So there's multiple phases to this.
okay.
So we have a runway overlay project, a runway lengthening project, a taxiway lengthening project, and this is then a taxiway widening project. And each one of those pieces had to be funded through various grants. So the state of Arkansas put in a portion. We've received a grant for the extension from Congressman Westerman, and then Congressman Westerman Moran came together for this portion.
Okay, that's great, that's clear. In the future, can you give us like up front, when you're coming back in to give us a reminder of
Yes, sir.
the specifics of why we're doing what we're doing, to make it make sense to us and for the taxpayers?
Yes, sir.
All right.
This is mostly for Project Paint, right?
That is correct, sir.
You say Project Paint?
Project Paint is the maintenance, repair, overhaul facility that is looking to come to the Texarkana.
Okay, I remember now.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
all right.
Any other questions? If not, I'd instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Texarkana Regional Airport seeks authorization for the airport director to enter into an agreement with Garver Engineering to administer the widening of Taxiway B, the widening of Taxiway D, and the conversion of Runway 13. And whereas these improvements are necessary to maintain and enhance the safety, efficiency, and operational capabilities of the Texarkana Regional Airport. And whereas Garver Engineering has the professional qualifications and experience necessary to provide engineering and administrative services for airport infrastructure projects. And whereas the proposed agreement with Garver Engineering provides for professional engineering services associated with the widening of Taxiway B, widening of Taxiway D, and conversion of Runway 13 in an amount not to exceed $773,200. And whereas Congressman Nathaniel Moran and Congressman Bruce Westerman have provided an $11 million grant for widening taxiways and converting 13-31. And whereas the grant will cover 95% of the cost at $734,540, and the remaining 5% match of $38,660 will be covered by the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics, which results in no local matching funds needed for this project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the airport director is authorized and directed to enter into an agreement described above with Garver Engineering in an amount not to exceed $773,200. Pass and approve this 16th day of March, 2026.
City attorney's read the resolution, desire of the board.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, the resolution passes. Moving on to item number 4, adopt a resolution authorizing the airport director to enter into an agreement with Garver Engineering to administer the demolition of the JDC in an amount not to exceed $82,100. Paul?
All right. The airport had to obtain the juvenile detention center that is across the freeway from the airport. As part of lengthening the runway, the 500 feet, the runway protection zone, which is a safety area, extends over that building. The FAA requires that building to be removed for us to be able to open the runway for operations once it has been extended. The $82,100 will be paid out of a $400,000 50/50 grant from the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics. This was previously approved in the airport's capital budget.
Director Harris.
I guess my question is, or my thought is, at what point did, was this state, well, I change. Adjacent to that, you have that, GE rail car down there. Why wasn't that included into why do that need to be moved, or why that don't need to be moved? Then my other, well, go ahead and answer that
Okay,
question.
yes, the runway protection zone moved that 500 feet with the extension of the runway, and it does not take any of the buildings that have people that gather from that facility in there.
Then what about the highway going across there?
The highway is under that runway protection zone. The FAA is not requiring us to do any kind of modification.
So why is they requiring you to tear down remove the JDC and not remove the highway? Is you still up under the same, I guess, criteria? And one, the reason why I'm getting at that is because based on the past issue with the juveniles, and I know that we traded a building to the county, and I don't know if the county really was trying to get away from serving the juveniles here, or was that a way, well, that could have been a way for them to opt out from serving the juveniles here in Miller County. But what, do you have something? I know you came up here and said that, where it said it in writing that need to be towed down, and there was any, what leeway you could have had, because basically what you're doing is tearing down a building that maybe could really been utilized more with the juvenile problem that we was having, because I know right now you got to send the juvenile real bad. They got to be going to Pine Bluff if an issue comes up. But otherwise, I'm just trying to think back as to, is this the best practice for the city or the county as a whole to tear down a perfectly good building because of, you saying so-called, well, you saying a fly zone, but yet you got a highway going through there. And I think with the technology today of airplanes, I really don't see it as to what you, then if you look at the next item, you're talking about spending $317,000 to remove a sim. You know, that's a whole lot of money. You know, I may be jumping the gun with the next item. You're talking about $317,000 to remove a building. But you just paying them $82,000 just to oversee the tearing down of the building. I'm trying to see, why is that really necessary?
Well, I can't speak to the county's operations. I do know that that building, at the time that we began our discussions, had already been closed, and they were not currently using it. We did have discussions with the Federal Aviation Department about allowing a coroner's office to be in there. We also asked them about using that building for storage, and then we asked if we could just maintain the building if we basically promised that it wouldn't be used in the future. The Federal Aviation Administration's Airport District Office out of Fort Worth had indicated that, no, we had to take that building down to the slab. So that was, basically we run under the dictate of the Federal Aviation Administration. That
So
is,
they gave you something in writing demanding that?
yeah, we can see, I think
Yeah,
it's
I've got,
in.
I've got an email from about a month ago.
That's an email. I can get an email telling me I got to go this way to go down this highway. That doesn't mean I got to go this way. But I would like to see something a little bit more concrete. And I would like to see something, I guess I'm asking you, take with this, I would like to see something. No, that's just my opinion.
There are what are referred to as advisory circulars. There is an advisory circular about airport design, and it goes into the requirements of the runway protection zone. I can provide that information
Yeah,
to.
but that's what you providing, and you, I'm not saying, that's what you providing, and
You want something from the
I want
FAA?
something from the FAA, something saying that that's something we got to do this, you know? Because I can see somewhere down, I can just see what, from hearing from the, police a while back when we had some issues that, when they had to take, drive people up to, to Pine Bluff, you know, and then you were driving people, the juvenile to Pine Bluff, you had that. And then I guess we'd say we should have just made the county and maybe possibly the city, you know, do what really needs to be done with the juveniles. And really, I just don't see it because you got a highway there and you got the same criteria with the highway, and they not making you turn that highway, making it go around, down, moving the highway, you still gonna have the same issue. And then, I'm saying with technology today, you know, did y'all ask for a waiver, or sometimes you can just, or could you just say, make us do it, you know? Are you up under any penalty if you didn't do it?
Yes, so they would not allow us to reopen the runway, the primary runway, if we did not do it.
You
That's
have
my,
that in
What-
writing?
that's my question. What are the provided the FAA gives Director Harris what he's asking for, what are the ramifications if it's not approved?
So if it was not approved, then we would not be able to do the 500-foot extension to the runway. So that is, to be able to do the 500-foot extension, which is necessary to bring in the wide-body aircraft, we would need to remove this building according to the FAA. I am happy to have the airport district office provide a letter that we can give to the city manager. However, the airport operates under the dictates of the Federal Aviation Administration.
Well, Paul, before we have them to send a letter, I would like for us to file for an exemption. Just like we got an exemption that the interstate would be exemption from being removed or what have you, and able to be operational, and we still have the runway to be operational, that we ask for an exemption to get the building, to exempt the building from being demolition. I mean, because in the basics is that it's a municipality that we really, really need here in Miller County. It's going to decrease the risk assessment of transporting kids up north. It's going to decrease the risk assessment. I'm happy to write up a report, an assessment you can provide with the federal, but I don't think we just want to just.
So on that, we made a request just about a month ago about allowing the building to maintain in place. They would not give you an exemption that would allow you to continue to use that building because it gathers people into that, and that is a strict, not allowed, because the runway protection zone is designed that if an aircraft is taking off and it loses power and it crashes, that we do not have it crash into a facility that would have children in it.
But we have human capital that's driving up and down the interstate that's still a part of that runway extension area that we're talking about. And so, we're saying there's a contrast here, but there's not a contrast with human capital that's moving up and down that interstate that we can't calculate. And so
We
I
can certainly
understand
get
that-
some clarification as
Yeah.
to why they allow the freeway.
Yeah.
It may be part of it as, see, I don't want
Yeah.
to guess at why the reason
Right.
is.
All I'm saying.
I can provide, we can reach out to the office and get that, but I can tell you, the FAA will not provide an exemption that would allow us to utilize that building.
Well,
Wait.
Paul, if you will, allow one of us to help with this conversation with them, I don't mind talking with them, because this is a municipality we really, really need in place. 'Cause if we can make one exemption for the interstate, we can make another exemption for that building, because for the youth in our city, we really need a place for their rehabilitation, their education, and accountability. And this is an opportunity that not only for the youth, were something we can fix in our municipality that was broken over a couple of decades ago, and the county did all they can to keep it up. Now we got an opportunity. I don't see us just making a up or down vote today on this, but we have an opportunity to go in here and try to re-amend whatever that they have in place, that we can keep this building open. And for the same amount that we want to negotiate to tear it down, maybe we can negotiate to keep, pay that amount to keep it open. But I just see an opportunity that we should do all that we can to keep this building open, because we're desperately looking for a dwelling right now for our youth. And that's something we just don't have. As soon as I finish. But that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I yield my time.
Director Robert,
The property has already exchanged hands, correct?
property has.
So,
The runway extension project is predicated on the removal of that building.
correct.
That's
So, I mean,
already been
So
decided.
the county actually owns
No, the county don't, the
airport.
the airport owns it.
Because they've already started taking parts of that building down.
Yeah.
The air conditioning system's gone.
We can get another air
It's gone.
Is it a functioning building right now with occupants?
We can get all the FAA letters.
But we can try.
The airport was there long before the roadway was there. The interstate came through. The roadway was there, and the airport was there many, many years before the interstate came through there. So that runway.
That's good,
was
yeah.
there. So that's why that runway, I mean, the highway exists because it came later after the airport. So the FAA allows the highway to exist because it came later. That's the only reason. If it exists because the FAA allows it to exist there. If it wasn't, they wouldn't allow it to be built there now.
I'm sure I think the key is, instead of a road and cars moving by, it's an occupiable structure. And
Yeah,
the FAA just wants to make sure that there are no occupiable buildings.
That thing can dodge a few cars.
But
I have a,
But with that adjacent, you talk about less than 1,500 meters, you have a railroad operation that's adjacent to it. You have resident homes within another 300 meters that's southeast of that location. I just think we may need to rewrite this up in a different way to make sure they see the whole entire picture.
But it's the pros.
Do you have a
Yeah.
picture of the?
Paul, has the Texas side approved this already?
No,
Maybe?
we came to you first.
When?
They're bringing it in April. Okay.
Paul, I have a question.
It's the approach of the runway coming on.
Paul, I have a question.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not going to hold your feet to the fire on anything. For the phases and the growth moving forward with the airport and everything, do you foresee any kind of impact for other surrounding business with Blair, M&M Milling, Abernathy, everything over there close to you on the other side?
No, they are not in any of the safety areas.
Okay.
No, will
This would drastically affect runway paint.
yeah, I mean, will this hold up our roadway extension by not,
Yes,
oh, we need to.
absolutely.
And Mayor, do I understand, you said
Yes.
the FAA owns the building?
No, the airport owns the building.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, the airport owns the building, so you're just,
The
Yes, sir.
county swapped the armory for the,
you're kindly asking for permission for
To tear it
something
down.
you already have permission to do.
Well, we have the building, we have to have the permission to now spend the money to remove the building.
Yeah. Okay.
so any more questions about that?
No, I'm just asking for a reconsideration that we don't cut before we measure again to try to see if we could keep the building. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to table this and see what, right now, I don't feel, have nothing to lose, but
I'll second it.
You have a motion and a second to table. How many votes are required to table? Josh? 4?
You got 6 here.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second to table. Could you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
No.
Just so we're clear, I'm voting to table this?
If you vote yes, you would table it.
No.
Director Roberts,
No.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
No. So motion to reconsider. Any other questions pertaining to this particular thing? I have just a couple, Paul, I wanted to just kind of bring out. First of all, I'm having a hard time understanding just as, and you know how I am about the airport funding and the money and all that, why we're having to pay $82,000 to engineer a project that we're going to tear down anyway. And we're not even tearing the thing down to the slab. And in my conversations, it was told that the FAA requires us to hire an engineering firm. I've not found that anywhere. I see where it is required to be removed, but I don't see anything in there why we're paying engineers to cut utilities off and oversee a building being $82,000 to be destroyed and taken off because it's required. We're getting it $11,000 to have it surveyed. We're getting $6,900
Right.
to bid it out. So I just don't understand why we're having to do that when we could just hire a demo company like we do our homes and tear that thing down.
So it's got to be publicly bid out since it's using state funding to do that. And there's more that goes into that, even though it's a state-funded
Only
project.
half of that state funding. I mean, this is
Right.
200,000 is coming from both of the
Sure.
cities, so
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
not
and-
fully funded by a grant.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct. So on the state side, we still have to do coordination with the FAA for this project. We have to go through the categorical exclusion for environmental clearance on the project. We also have to do airspace study for the construction equipment that's going to be used on the project, and then fulfilling the requirements of the state. The project has to be publicly bid out, so you have that public bid, component of it where, you can't just go, hire a contractor to do that. We're also, part of the project is also removing trees that are obstructions for the new approach surface that will be as a result of the runway extension. That's the reason for the survey. We're going to go out there, survey the property line, and survey all the trees that are on the new airport property, and also try to get trees that are on the highway right-of-way as well. So there's some coordination involved with coordinating with with RDOT to so they grant us permission to clear those trees. We're going to do a asbestos and lead paint survey. That was something the FAA wanted us to do as part of the categorical exclusion process. And then this also includes us helping the airport execute contracts and keep the contractor on schedule, do periodic site visits throughout the construction of the project. And we had to update the ALP, the airport layout plan, to show that that building is removed and some of those trees are removed.
You mentioned approach surface. What do you mean by that? How's that laid
So
out?
every airport has an approach surface that needs to be clear, and it's a plane that's based off the end of the runway, and it varies depending on what type of approach you have. But in general, it starts 200 feet from the end of the runway. It's trapezoidal shape, like the runway protection zone is, and it goes up at a 34-to-1, and you need any obstruction, whether it be tree or anything like that, to be below that surface. So
This is a design,
yes.
right? This is a design for,
Well, we're going to show which trees
Right,
need to come
right,
down
engineer.
as a result
Okay.
to clear that approach surface.
And just curious, did any airport authority member say anything about the fee? Did they think that was expensive or why we needed it? Did anybody ask anything about that?
It was brought up. This did initially get tabled and brought back in front of our planning committee. The city manager also had discussions with the engineering firm to understand the kind of the complexity of why this is not as simple as kind of pushing down a building.
Any other questions? Harris?
I'm just gonna ask the question, why ain't you doing that? Why is we paying you as the airport director? Why is we paying that guy beside you the $82,000?
He's not certified. He's not an engineer. That'd be my answer.
Yes, I'm not an
He's a
engineer.
wannabe engineer sometimes, aren't you, Paul?
No, sir.
But why is we paying you what we paying you?
Run the airport.
Well, part of this was to go out and obtain the grants, to work with the Federal Aviation Administration to allow this project through those discussions to identify the engineering firm, to work with the county to obtain the building. So there were different parts that I was involved in.
Now, the
Any
82,
other questions?
the $82,000 is coming from what? What
It's
source?
from a $400,000 grant from the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics that was previously approved in the capital budget.
And no match to that?
There is a match, so $200,000 of that comes from the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics. The other $200,000 is split between the two cities.
So $200,000 is coming, so we are handing up part of that,
Yes, sir.
coming out of your budget, our budgets.
Any other questions?
Paul, is there a timeline that we're trying to adhere to that we're not, or so are we saying that we're not going to take consideration to do an appeal with the FFA, or who you?
I can certainly get a letter kind of giving some clarification
Yeah.
from the FAA as to, as I can't speak for the members of the board, you know, of what you wish to do here tonight.
Let's just say it's voted down. What kind of dent does
We've
that put in
already
your
voted
timeline?
not to table it,
So-
so we voted on this particular resolution will be voted on tonight.
Right.
And then we will address item number 5 next, and if both of them pass, we'll proceed. If they don't, then we're gonna go back to the drawing board. Because they'll have to both pass the board and the Texas side for you to be able to do it.
And if
Yes.
it's voted
Just
down,
to-
Josh, it can't come back for what, 90 days?
No, this is a resolution.
Resolution,
So
so-
Okay, I'm sorry.
we can move
I'm
to
sorry.
the next agenda. Any other discussion?
I got one more.
Okay.
When is this coming up before Texas side?
It will come up in April.
April, okay. So I guess I can go there and say the same thing there, what I'm saying here. All right, thank you.
If no other questions, I'd instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Texarkana Regional Airport seeks authorization for the airport director to enter into an agreement with Garver Engineering to administer the demolition of the juvenile detention center located on airport property. And whereas the demolition of the JDC is necessary to allow for future airport development and to improve the functionality and safety of airport facilities. And whereas Garver Engineering has the professional qualifications and experience necessary to provide engineering and administrative services associated with the demolition project. And whereas the proposed agreement with Garver Engineering provides for professional engineering services to administer the demolition of the juvenile detention center in an amount not to exceed $82,100. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the airport director is authorized and directed to enter into the agreement described above with Garver Engineering in an amount not to exceed $82,100. Pass and approve this 16th day of March, 2026.
City attorney's read the resolution, desire the board.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, could you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
No.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
No,
Mayor Brown,
Yes, the resolution passes. Moving on to item number 5, to adopt a resolution authorizing the airport director to enter into agreement with Garver Engineering to seek bids to demolish the JDC in the amount not to exceed $317,900.
This is to make sure that they could go forward with getting the bids, keep us on a tight timeline, and also assure that they would not be exceeding the already pre-approved amount within the grant of that $400,000 total. That is where the $317,900 comes from. Does not mean that we have to spend all of that after it is bid. The amount may be less than that. It just may not exceed that.
Right.
Director Harris.
and I guess my question out of we paying that much money? What are we paying that money for? Is to tear the building down, or what is it for?
Yes.
Yes, that is to tear the building down, remove it, remove all of the trees.
And
And
who?
disposal.
Huh?
Disposal.
Okay, and who gonna be doing this?
We have to bid that out. That has not currently been bid out.
And how you figure it's gonna be up that amount of money?
It may be less. It will be advertised locally, the local paper, so companies that are local that would like to bid on that, if If they can do it for under that amount, we'll be well.
You just took the difference from the 400 to
Yes,
the
sir.
82 that we already know we're spending for the engineering.
That is correct, sir.
So how you
Just
know
did the
on
math.
the list if you're already putting out what amount we can pay?
We have 400,000 coming, and so we know the engineering fee's 82, so that leaves 317. So he's saying that it could be less than that, but we have that without appropriating any additional funds. We have the 317 left. It may not be that much.
Paul, do you anticipate it to be less?
I'll let you go on
Yeah, we put together preliminary estimates on it, and we have it estimated right between $300,000 and $320,000.
That's using the
320
That's-
exceeds 317.
If they were to exceed the amount, then we would have to find a way to descope it to get it under that, because we will not exceed that amount. For
If
the-
you exceed the 400 that we've got, you'd have to come back anyway.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The contract is to take it down to the slab. FFA, that is, requiring you to take it down to the slab, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is the plan, to leave the slab, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I totally understand what you're doing here, and you're saying we're going to use the search engines that you mentioned earlier to seek these bids. And I do want to communicate again that I see a conflict here that we're willing to take a risk assessment on the human capital going up and down the interstate, but not willing to take the same risk and fight for this, for the human capital that we can put in that building. But I just want to make that, just want to make that concern clear, and I understand we just voted on it. But thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? If not, I'd instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Texarkana Regional Airport seeks authorization for the airport director to enter into an agreement with Garver Engineering to seek bids for the demolition of the juvenile detention center located on airport property. And whereas the demolition of the JDC is necessary to allow for future airport development and to improve the functionality and safety of airport facilities. And whereas the proposed agreement with Garver Engineering provides for professional engineering services to solicit bids and administer the demolition project in an amount not to exceed $317,900. And whereas the costs associated with this project will be funded through a 50/50 grant from the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the airport director is authorized and directed to enter into the agreement described above with Garver Engineering in an amount not to exceed $317,900. Pass and approve the 16th day of March, 2026.
City attorney's read the resolution, desire the board.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
No.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
No.
Mayor Brown,
Yes, and the resolution passes.
I got one question for you. How soon are y'all looking at doing this?
The Texas side will approve, assuming the Texas side approves mid-April, we'll start on design immediately, looking at about a month for design, and then a month to bid. Then we'll have to go to the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics to get the grant based on the bids. And then it'll all be up to contractor availability and when they can get it scheduled. But say we're looking, roughly 6 to 7 months for completion.
Thank you.
Paul, can I ask you one question? It has nothing to do with this, but our local TSA agents, I know that they've had many, we're working, a month on a partial government shutdown now, and I'm sure they're to the point they're not receiving any type of funds.
So last Thursday was the first check that went out at $0. So they are currently now having to live without any funding. I've spoken with their local manager, and if it stretches into April, we'll be working with the food shelter. They previously had done a food donation for them, and we'll be working to try to get that for them again.
Are y'all able to provide, I know some credit card companies, mortgage companies, which they're all aware of the situation, but can y'all provide a letter or something that if they need it, that they're not receiving compensation, or is that something they'd have to get from the federal government?
So we kind of have a limit of what we're able to do. For instance, with the food donations, we're not allowed to give it directly to them. We basically work through their office and leave it to them.
What are we talking about?
But if there are individuals who are just making any kind of donations, things like gift cards, fuel cards are very important because they're still coming to work, and it's going to become increasingly difficult for them to put gas in the tank to be able to do that.
Where, us as individuals, is there a certain person we would need to contact?
You can actually just come by the airport's office. We will make sure that any donations make it to them.
Thank you.
Moving right along to item number 6 is to adopt a resolution to add police presence requirements to the public facility use application and associated fee based on crowd size. Tracy.
Good evening, Mayor Brown, Board of Directors. As we explained in the last meeting, we've been having issues with some of these events, the crowd sizes being too large. And the police has saw a need that they need to have more officers based on crowd size. But also with that, the 2 officers they already have downtown for the entertainment district is eating up a lot of their overtime. So they have to have some kind of way to recoup that loss when they have to have more officers out there. And that fee structure you have before you is based on which officer they send out, whether it's a lieutenant, a regular beat officer, and based on their pay and what we pay them hourly.
Got a question on that. So, for example, any of the entities downtown, as far as all the clubs, what have you, if they're hosting an event,
If
and
they've applied for a PFU,
yes,
those fees are associated with the PFU. But they will also, as a part of that PFU, they will have the option to hire their own security
Okay.
team, but they have to meet the same number requirement of security officers as is required by the police.
So their
Okay,
security
good.
team doesn't offset the required amount of officers for the PF.
Are you asking if they have to still pay for the officers?
Yeah,
No, they can hire their own security team, but they have to have the same number of security officers that the police would require if they were paying for police officers.
okay, good deal. Because that's where I was going with that, because, you know, we look at paying overtime when they're going to reap the benefits as far as the profits or what have you. So is their agenda that they should be able to pay for their
Correct.
security, and we're not pulling more public servants, you know, boots on the ground to cover their
Correct.
event, and we're not getting any monies for it.
Correct. And also on the PFU, they will be required to list where they're staging those security officers. They will have to provide the credentials for the security firm and all of that before the PFU is approved by the police department.
So the police department is going to be in collaboration to certify their,
They look at all of our
Okay,
PFUs.
all
It gets
right.
sent to them. So we have to have approval from police and fire before it's approved.
okay, thanks for that, yeah.
And you,
Just so I'm sorry, Danny.
you stated that the crowds have been the issue, the size of the crowds or something?
Yes, sir.
So what size have been?
I'll use the last event downtown. They had over 5,000 people. And I would have to, because a lot of times I'm not down there, so I'm going to let Captain Beach speak to that.
So,
Yes, sir.
so what was the estimated crowd size that y'all talking about?
Well, depending on the PFU, they write down their estimated crowd size. So based on that number, if it is under, say, 500 expected, it would be one, either officer or security personnel, and then so on, basically adds one per 500 people that would be in attendance.
All right. So, all right, but the one that's, I guess, the crowd that I guess is generating this issue,
Well, even for Pickle Fest last year, she stated she had over 15,000 people come through there. So in that instance, if those crowds are that large, you definitely need police down there, and you
Right.
need more than 2.
Right.
And we're not talking about
and that's what.
crowd size over a day. We're talking about it one particular period. So if, say, 2,000 people are visiting Pickle Fest,
Yeah, an event.
we're talking about 4 people there for security. We're not talking about the entire amount of people that would attend during the entire day.
Okay, so let's take, for instance, the Tracy Lawrence.
Yes, sir.
What was that crowd size?
5,300.
What did we anticipate it to be prior to that?
I don't think
So,
we had a,
3,000 to 7,000?
So what happens if we anticipate 2,500 and it ends up being 5,000? Do you guys send more officers, and they have to understand they have to pay it, or is it just,
Whenever this would come through for approval, if it had been like a recurring event, we would look at attendance the year prior and look at the number of attendees that they expect. And then if we have a discrepancy on that, we would send that to the person that's, how's it written?
Person that's renting the facility.
The contact person
yeah.
for that event, and we would have a discussion about that so that we could come to a common number.
And if they hire their own security personnel, that offsets the need for the required amount of officers?
Correct.
Is the security personnel that's hired, do y'all approve that? Do you review who it is?
Yes, sir. That would be listed on the PFU, so that would come to us for approval, like I said, and the fire department and so on, all has to approve all of these public facility use.
So if they choose to go that route, you have confidence in who they're hiring?
Correct.
Versus the officers we're sending?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think we had a question in the,
Do we have a question in the audience?
oh, the previous, all right.
Do you want to ask it, Ms. Mercy, or? Okay. Any other questions on this? All right, instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the city of Texarkana, Arkansas allows the use of municipal facilities for public events through its public facility use application process. And whereas effective crowd management during public events is essential for maintaining public safety, order, and compliance with departmental policies. And whereas the Texarkana, Arkansas Police Department has identified staffing requirements based on anticipated crowd size in order to ensure adequate security and crowd control at events held at municipal facilities. And whereas the proposed policy establishes minimum police presence requirements and associated hourly rates for officers assigned to events held at municipal facilities. And whereas the proposed police presence requirements are as follows. Regular, proposed $55.73 to $68.97 per hour. Sergeant, $72.03 to $74.90 per hour. Lieutenant, $80.66 to $83.52 per hour. Required police staffing based on crowd size. Crowd size under 500, 1 officer required. Crowd size 500 to 1,000, 2 officers required. Crowd size over 1,000, 1 officer per every 500 persons. Whereas applicants utilizing municipal facilities will be required to specify the estimated crowd size in their public facility use application, and the appropriate police staffing level will be determined prior to approval with associated costs calculated based on the hourly rates above. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the proposed policy regarding presence rates and presence requirements described herein are hereby approved. Pass and approve the 16th day of March, 2026.
City attorney's read the resolution, desire the board.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, the resolution passes. Ms. Mercy?
Yes, sir. I just want to get some clarification. Did I hear mention that some items was already been removed from the juvenile center?
Yes, ma'am. It's mainly the fence. That exterior chain link fence has been removed that I'm aware of.
The air conditioning, did I hear someone say that?
Some of the,
And I
some
know
of the,
roofing, some of the roofing, so who's doing that work if
some of
if
the
the
salvageable items were being removed by Miller County to utilize at the armory at the airport. It's possible they were used elsewhere, but that was part of the agreement in the property swap, So they were salvaging,
Moving the fence over there in the air conditioning.
And,
yeah, they're salvaging whatever they could from that building to utilize in the Armory building where they're housing the emergency
OEM.
management.
Okay, so it's a previous agreement between
The
Okay.
county.
Yes, ma'am.
and the air.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
hey, thanks for that clarification.
Moving on to item number 7, our last item on the agenda is to adopt an ordinance to amend ordinance M59 to update the purchasing policy for recent changes in state statute. Sheena.
Mayor Brown, Board of Directors. With the implementation of the new software, we've made a couple of changes to the purchasing policy. One of the bigger changes that we made was we put language to the pre-approvals, and when they're needed, standard practice has been approvals were based on any item over $500. So we raised that up to $2,500. $500 is more of an antiquated number in this day and time. So we made it that pre-approvals are up to $2,500 and a penny, and any approval after that will still have to go through the process. So we didn't make any changes to purchasing limits or anything like that. We did make a couple of changes on how departments put in their invoices and requisitions. We've already trained departments for that. We've actually been live on the system 2 whole weeks, and this makes the week number 3. And we also added to the policy that you cannot split up purchases to avoid the pre-approval process or approval process thresholds. And we just made a couple of changes in wording to make sure that when invoices are put in, that they're put in as an invoice, not as a rec. The old system, everything had to be put in as a requisition, and now we have the option to do requisition and invoices. I believe that is most of the changes that we made. Do you have any questions?
Director Harris.
My question would be, do we have an inventory system? And because we can buy thousands or $1 million of equipment and and stuff, we never have an inventory system of what we have.
We do keep fixed asset records, and we do have a system and a fixed asset listing for all of our fixed assets. As far as supplies and inventory on supplies, as far as the finance department, we do not keep an inventory
Yeah, I know.
on that, but we do keep inventory on all of our major capital purchases. We do keep an inventory on that.
Public Works does keep an inventory of all their equipment as well.
And we have access to that?
You certainly can, yes,
All
sir.
right. Yes, I would like to say. Yes, I'm accustomed to just looking at those items. Thank you.
Fixed assets are also audited by the auditors.
Yes,
You
they
have
are.
that listing in your audit.
Yeah. But I would like to see it before then, though.
Any other questions for Sheena? If not, I'd instruct the city attorney to read the ordinance on its first reading in title form.
An ordinance amending ordinance number M59 to update the city's purchasing policy to reflect recent changes in state statute, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. Desire to have it read on its second reading.
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Could you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number M59 to update the city's purchasing policy to reflect recent changes in state statute, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. Desire to have it read on its third and final reading.
Third and final abbreviated.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number M59 to update the city's purchasing policy to reflect recent changes in state statute, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting on this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, would you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts.
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. And the ordinance is adopted. The staff has asked for an emergency clause. The desire to attach.
Motion to attach emergency clause.
Second.
So have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts.
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. Moving down to Board of Directors' commentary, is there any board member to wish to address the board tonight?
Yes.
Director Harris.
I'm trying to make sure I got the dates right. But next month, starting on April the 7th, I will be having a meeting at This is Washington at 6 p.m. Then the next Tuesday, on April the 14th, it'll be at Vernon Bradfield Building. That's over there on Euclid Street at 6 p.m. And also, April the 21st will be at 21, well, I haven't asked them, but quite sure I probably can get you. It'll be 2101 Hayes Street at 6 p.m. at the Church of God in Christ Church. Then I think on April the 28th, it'll be here at City Hall. And the name of my meeting I'm gonna be having is called Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace meeting. So, and no, I'm not up for re-election this year, but I just decided to just go ahead and just have a chance to see what the public say about Ward 2, what's the direction of Ward 2 being, and what's the direction of Ward 2 need to be going. So, you come there and say what you want to say. And I have invited the city manager and anybody, department head, they was more welcome to show up. And I probably would put this out, which based on my Facebook page, and probably do a press release and hope the citizens can come up and see what type of feedback I get. Thank you.
Any other board? Director Brewer.
Yes, for Ward 4, I want them to know that I'm finalizing dates to have a Ward 4 meeting. And Ward 4 runs from 19th Street to Realtor Road, and we're bordered by the east side of State Line and the west side of Jefferson. And also, I want to make an apology to my colleague here. When I was speaking, I told him, hey, wait till I finish. Should wait for command and control from the mayor to say, to keep that flow going. So sorry about that, Jewel. And that's all I have. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna make it real
All
quick.
right.
March 28th, 9 a.m. to noon at the Terry Lee Rogers Rec Center. We're gonna have breakfast with the bunny that Parks and Rec Department always does a fantastic job. It's totally free to the citizens, community. You get breakfast, door prizes, games. It's a good time. Whether you have kids or not, come on out and support it. That's it.
Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion for adjournment.
Second? Is there a second?
Motion for adjournment.
Second. Motion and second. Could you call the roll?
Got two motions, no second.
Assistant Mayor Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, we're adjourned.
Yeah, I'm sorry.